Hello world, welcome to Edupedia World. Our today's topic is scientific research. Now let's have a look at it. Definition first. The scientific research is the systematic investigation of scientific theories and hypotheses where the hypothesis is a single assertion or simply a statement or a proposed explanation of something based on available knowledge for something yet to be explained, that is, the one that is subject to further experimentation. The people who create such hypotheses are called researchers. Now, the general aims of scientific research are, and also the ultimate aims of research are to generate measurable and testable data, gradually adding to the accumulation of the human knowledge. Now let's have a look at them. The first one is observe and describe, where the observation involves comparison. For example, a research study comparing the risk of developing lung cancer between smokers and non-smokers would be a very good example of an observational study. Then comes predict, where prediction in research fulfills one of the basic desires of humanity, that is, to discern the future and know what fate holds. This type of research involves studying the stars, astronomy, etc. Determination of the causes. The key principle of establishing cause and effect is proving that the effects seen in the experiment happened after the cause. This seems to be an extremely obvious statement, but that is not always the case. Let's have a look at the type of classic chicken and egg argument, where it is always an argument like, is chicken the effect, or is chicken the cause, or is egg the cause, or whatever, like vice versa. We are not sure what is the cause and effect in this argument. So in establishing cause, it is one of the difficult aspects of scientific research. So we have to be very particular when determining the cause as well as the effect. Then comes explain the purpose of research. It is really an ongoing process of correcting and refining hypotheses, which should lead to the acceptance of certain scientific truths, where the relationship between truth and theory is at the very heart of science. Or simply, why are we conducting research? Why is it necessary? All comes in the explanation of the purpose of research. Now, the steps of the scientific research. The steps of the scientific research or process has a structure similar or very synonym to the hourglass. That is, the structure starts with the general questions, narrowing down to focus on one specific aspect, then designing research where we can observe and analyze this aspect, and at the last the hourglass widens again and the researcher concludes and generalizes the findings to the real world. That is why we have defined the steps through an hourglass. So the diagram involves general questions, which is the starting point, and narrowing down, which is usually done through a process of elimination. Now let's have a detailed look at the diagram. So you can see at the right hand side there are the names of the processes, and at the left hand side in the red font color are the explanation of these processes. The major two boxes in red color are the two major points, which are the first one data collection and the other one is the test or observation of the data in the specific situations, either measurement or through an experimental way. So now let's have a look at the processes first. The real world phenomenon. It obviously involves the questions about the big picture, like what are you going to do from the real world as a scientific research. Then comes the background and theory. Its explanation is, or it involves concepts, literature review and causal explanations. That is the subject or which you have taken as a scientific research, what is its background, and then some theoretical reviews about it. Then comes the choosing design and method for your research, which involves hypothesis, predictional, or all the operationalization of your research. Then comes the results, statistical analysis, which obviously is testing hypothesis. Then comes the discussion, which is the implications or possible bias or errors, all are discussed in it. Then finally you have a conclusion, or you conclude your research to a particular point, which generally involves generalization of all the scientific research, and also you left some aspects as well for the future research, so that your current or present scientific research can be refined as well after some span of time. Now comes the guideline. You can say a linearized or pragmatic scheme, or simply the guideline for scientific research proceedings are as follows, or these 8 points, we can call them a crux of whatsoever we had studied so far in the slides of scientific research. So now let's have a look at them. The first one is define a question, or simply you are going to select your topic or what you have to do as your scientific research. Then comes gather information and resources, which is done through the observation or an observational study. Then comes form an explanatory hypothesis, which simply is your action line, like what you are going to do. Then comes testing the hypothesis by performing an experiment and collecting data in a reproducible manner. That is, so that you can use the data, the collection, the samples, the patterns of data again and again. Otherwise, you have to waste your time in collecting data again and again. Then comes analysis of the data, which is done through designing methods. Then comes interpretation of the data and drawing conclusions that serve as a starting point for new hypotheses if you need one. And then is the publishing of the results, and then comes the retesting, which is frequently done by other fellow or peer scientists. This iterative cycle inheritance in the step-by-step method goes from point 3 to 6. That is, if the hypothesis does not come to the satisfactory conclusion or is not giving the right cause and effect, then you have to repeat from step 3 to 6 again and again unless you come to your desired conclusion. And then finally is the publishing and retesting. Thank you for watching a video on Edupedia World.